scene. A circuit that has proven time and again it is the small Le Mans out there that often brings the biggest battling in racing. This is a place that pretty much pulls the curtain down on the endurance racing calendar here with us and the SimRacing Republic GT Open. This is only the opening act of the second half of the show. This will prove to many that to be a sprint champion, to be a master champion, to get the overall result in your back pocket, you have to make sure that you get these racing laps all correct, and these two races that come into play are critical for today's racing action. My name's Jake Sperry. Ossian Puhaka is alongside me for today's action as Christian Deploy is in the director's chair, and he is using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard as part of a Genesis Extreme production. But to the circuit that can and has done, and for what it has been, it is a truly wonderful circuit to hot lap, and it was going to be all for a very strong battle. Let's see how they go out there and say, this is what I'm capable of, with your GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curving lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track.
A circuit that offers one great overtaking opportunity, Aussie, in 10A and 10B, but critically, the first part of this lap is one of the great openings in the world of motorsport.
Oh, absolutely, Jake. You come into turn number 1, uphill right-hander, you absolutely blast it, and the exit is kinda unseen, and then you have to mentally prepare yourself for the SS turns 2, 3, 4, and then the downhill blast towards turn number 5, and at the exit of turn 5, you got that high curb you want to take, and then you can sorta relax yourself mentally into 6 and 7. I've heard people call them the Lesmos, the 6 and 7. Well, they're not the Lesmos, but they are still a very, very crucial pair of corners in that back straight. and be it a GT car, like today we are racing in GT3s, or like with any other car, you said in the intro, it's a great track to hot lap in and is sure to provide some great racing.
It certainly will, and here in Georgia, we are in the deep south here of the United States of America, and a wonderful track. This has been time and time again, but there's a lot to cover when it comes to championship ordeals. So let's go through your overall standings right now, where Oye Hugo is on top after Daytona, but without a single win to his name so far this season. Nuzwagi is in second, with Ryan van der Grijp in third position at 23 points adrift. Corbin Lenaway and Trevor Vavroski, who won last time out at Daytona, is in fifth, with Alessandro Torchio and Frank Cook in seventh place. They're both tied, 70 points back. You've got Daniel Mills in eighth place, with ninth belonging to Camden Craft, and Michele Velazzi rounding out your top 10. Over to Aussie now with Team Pro, which is currently a very good battle.
Oh, it is indeed, Jake. 07 Racing in the lead, but you got Manatee Racing Pro in second place, 34 points back. That's not too much in team standings. Then you got Enosis Esports in third and Impact Sim Sport in fourth, just ahead of Hyperion Racing and GT Dynamics. So you got sorta the leading four, and then you got the next guys, Hyperion, GT Dynamics, and Absolute Motorsport Acelit, who are fighting it out for fifth place in teams. Def Sim Racing Pro in 8th, Graphite Racing in 9th, and you got Lion GP rounding out that top 10.
Over then to GT3 Pro-Am, where Johan Neshev is proving to be the dominant force in the category. It doesn't matter whether it's enduro, it doesn't matter whether it's short. He's able to get a big margin. That margin is 68 points over Sven Beber. Mika Herkstra is in third at 84 points back, with Niels Boekhager in fourth and Michael Teichmann in fifth position. Sven Landgraaf is only 3 points back of Teichmann, with Stefan Jones in seventh. Dan van Zutphen is in eighth position after a couple of unfortunate drives over the start of this season. Joppie Simons is ninth, and Daniel Maggioni rounds out the top 10. Over to Aussie, who's eyeing up the Pro-Am team standings.
Indeed, Negative Delta by SimGear.it is in the lead, just 10 points ahead of NJB Performance. So it's a tight battle there in the team standings as well. Then you got 100 points to the lead with Evolution Sim Sport Red, Absolute Motorsport Acelit Pro-Am team, just 3 points ahead of Manatee Racing Pro-Am there in 4th and 5th. Backmarker Racing Green in 6th and Firefly Racing in 7th, also 3 points between those teams. Lion GP Academy, Blue Chip Racing and CSA are filling out the rest of your top 10 in the team standings.
Small category over in the AMs, just the 6 of them to talk about, but Ivan Loskutov and Luke Sloats, by measure of Metrica being the only 2 AMs who went to Daytona, are in control of the category over Gareth McRae and Kevin Maillard, and Maillard here today to go and challenge. Marcel Nürnberg is 5th out there, and then in 6th position is Richie Chowan, who did not get the finish that he wanted to last time out. In the in the teams AM standings, Simmer Esports Racing full control with 139 points over Impact SimSport AM, and Firefly E-Racing AM there in 3rd position. But if you're new here, watching this for the first time with us on the Global SimRacing Channel, Aussie, what are they going to have to deal with today?
So, round 4 of 6 in the championship. It's a sprint race first. You got a 25-minute sprint coming up, and after that, a 65-minute Masters race later on in the broadcast. You're racing with GT3 cars, very, very popular category in the world of real-life racing, as well as in sim racing. They got open setups, and that means they can adjust their cars to their likings within the regulations to suit this challenging track, and a custom balance of performance, trying to bring all those wonderful racing cars, wonderful supercars, to equal playing field.
And with that, here's the balance of performance for you to see. So everyone is limited to 47% of a fuel tank. That is to indicate that They are going to need to come in and get that fuel in. 4 power reductions, 0.5% gone for the Aston Martin Vantage, the BMW M4, and the Ford Mustang. 1% off the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, and as well as that, ballast important. The Acura is untouched, as is the McLaren and the Porsche 911 GT3 R992. 13 kilograms, the highest amount for the Aston Martin Vantage, 12 on the Mustang, 10 for the Corvette, Ferrari, and Lamborghini, and then 7 for the BMW and the Mercedes. So I would say that there are a lot of areas where you're looking at right now of balance of performance. In sim racing, everything tends to have a little nibble from it, but we do have some baselines to work with.
Oh, absolutely. And when you look at these charts and you see the amount of ballast that they have and the power reductions, you can see that it's a very level playing field by default. So you got like 10 kilos, 13 kilos, 7 kilos. That's really not much when the cars weigh around 1,200, 1,300 kilos by default. So those are small adjustments, small changes to each and every car. Ultimately, balance of performance is in any sport something that nobody is ever truly happy with. Everybody says that some car is OP or some car is not up to standard with the rest of them, but overall I think they've done a really great job. And you can see when you have a 1 kilo difference between some cars that they really take this seriously.
Right, let's go quick fire through the grid because we are lining things up now. Davide Pezzi on a wet to dry qualifying is in control with Ryan van der Grijp alongside Trevor Vavrovsky and Freek Koek on row 2 with Norzwagi and Stijn Handgraaf in 6th position. Oye Hugo will have to go from 7th with Casper de Kort in 8th. It's then Michele Velazzi in 9th and Ryan Fuqua rounding out your top 10. We will look over the page of GT3 Pro where Dylan Platt and Camden Craft find themselves with Antti Terho and Marcelo Caserta. Alessandro Torchio was stuck in the first part of qualifying, could only manage 32nd. Over to Aussie in GT3 Pro-Am.
Yes, and the Pro-Am stack up as follows. On the pole position, you got Sven Landgraf in the pole position with Daniel Dorscheid in 2nd, Niels Baukhag in 3rd, and Alessandro Vanozzi in 4th. Dan van Zutphen in 5th and Michael Teichmann in 6th ahead of Johan Neshu, who we remember doing a great performance in Daytona. Mika Hoekstra in 8th, Miroslav Sotilov in 9th, and Sven Beber in 10th. You got 3 more drivers in the Pro-Ams, with, I do believe, Daniel Macchioni in 11th, Roberto Stefano Kovac in 12th, and Marvin Baer in 13th. Just a couple of AM drivers that we will go through here. On the starting grid next, you got Ivan Loskutov, Lux Lutz, Kevin Maillard, and Marcel Nürnberg in that 4-driver AM field today, Jake. But yeah, over 30 cars in Road Atlanta.
Yep. So they've just dealt with the rain-affected conditions. It's now a mostly dry track, so the outside is going to be there and worth keeping in for a little bit of a worry. The green flag then has gone, and they've not really looked out to it. Ryan van der Grijp has had a wonderful jump off the start. He went at the drop of the green. Davide Pezzi was slow to react to it. What a launch off the start. Everyone's going to be strung out off the get-go with such a short outlap here to get everyone up to speed. Up into turn 3, they will go for the first time and work themselves through. Single file they'll go with the likes then Ryan Fuqua. That's a lovely bit of grass there as we work on through. They've grown it up here at Road America, up into turn 5.
Yeah, but we are just hearing from race control, and you can see it in the screen as well next to the interval. Ryan van der Grijp has a black flag from, I do believe, in that start, so that is drama already for Ryan off the get-go.
Yeah, so that will be a jump start, overtaking before the drop of the green flag. That wasn't administered by race control. That is just jumping too quickly. So in just a 25-minute heat, a penalty of that caliber is going to send him spiraling down the order, and that is a true disaster off of the start of racing here. He would not have wanted to deal with it as they go into 10A and into 10B, and when you consider as well that he is one of those drivers right in the sprint championship and for overall, he's going to hurt. He's going to have 3 laps to serve it.
Oh, absolutely. I wonder if he's going to be running all the way up front for those entire 3 laps, or if he's going to serve it right from the get-go. He didn't serve it on lap number 1. You can see, meanwhile, Trevor Wabrowski, our winner at Daytona, once again trying to ride that surfboard down a volcano, so to speak, and it is a volcano-like performance here, downhill through the SS Norsaki. Meanwhile, in 07 Racing, getting up those positions, there's already a bit of a gap forming between the top 5 and 10 6th place downwards. You can see it on your screens as well, but Petsy is hungry to get in that lead, and he wouldn't know about the penalty to Ryan.
Well, no, but what he'll also realise is that Ryan van der Grijp can stay out there, and he'll give Freek Koek a really good opportunity to attack Davide Petsy for position. That's also what he'll try to do out there with Hugo and Swaggy. They were fighting in their top 2 in the championship at the moment together. Petsy, you can see, trying to get that move across, and will he be brave to the left-hand side, right-hand side of the screen? Yes, gets the inside into 10A and 10B. Ryan van der Grijp just holds himself out, and there's contact between them. Petsy's going to get shoved down, exactly what they wanted. Then at Manatee, in will now come van der Grijp, and here comes Stijn Handegraaf, then trying to go through. Can Handegraaf take the race lead away? And now here comes Trevor looking for the outside. This is just get your elbows out stuff into the opening corners, fighting on this mostly dry track. It's for Frosky to second.
Oh, absolutely, and you can also see those cars throwing up the water. You mentioned the track is mostly dry. The keyword there being mostly. You can see some more water outside of the racing line there. So that means when you go for those inside overtaking moves, when you get out of that racing line, you have just a tiny bit less grip to work with. They're gonna be on dry tires for the entire field. I do believe these are dry racing conditions, but you have to be aware of that varying grip across the track, as we're watching Casper de Kort in that beautiful, beautiful Mustang currently in 7th place.
Basically, this is a day of you don't want to be offline here after all of what has been going through. Dorshai, you now your leader in the GT3 Pro-Am category, overtaking Johan Neshu, and he's only 5 points back in that category. And there we take a little look at him trying to battle with some of the AM leaders who are ahead by their qualifying position. Sloats and Loskatov have wonderful pace here today because they are both ahead of the Pro-Am leaders at this moment. Had a great qualifying in the wet to dry, and Sloats here is there. But now for the race lead, Freek Koek under pressure. Trevor trying to work through, but that extended wide line working quite nicely to cover it off. We take the spy camera view then as we work on through, then 3 into 4, and now down for the SS section, which is not labelled as a corner, and now back up the hill for the toughest corner on the track, turn 5.
Oh yeah, and you can see how close Wawrowski is getting, putting that pressure. Will he go to the inside on the second part, or will he try to make Freek break late? That is also a strategy. You got that long back straight coming up though, where you can more easily perhaps make those moves, but you can see the train of 4 cars. Meanwhile, Neshu moves on ahead of, I do believe, defends his position from Dorshad, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got through there in the negative delta car, past Firefly iRacing. So great pass for Johan as he holds his station, top 2 in the championship, battling side by side just there as we go through. But here goes Trevor, straight to the inside. He's overcooked it though, and Freek Koek will get back into the race lead. Hugo's overshot it as well there, and that's going to open him up for a massive slew behind 2. Casper de Kort sitting there. Fukuo and Velazzi want in as well, but now Koek with a lead. Handraff into second. Petsy is there in 4th, and suddenly every corner is going to be scrutinised right now as they work through. Petsy, not really much of a chance there through turn 1.
No, not at all, and you can see these guys are not putting the fastest laps on. In fact, the fastest laps right now are being done way further back with Antti Terho and Ryan Fugua in 9th and 10th, so the leaders are busy battling, and that's gonna bring the whole pack up together. But you could see the moistness, the dampness of the track, off that racing line, when Wawrowski went for that move on the inside, just could not stop the car, almost went outside of the entire track, just barely staying on the racing surface, but instead of gaining a position, he lost one, and now he's gonna have to deal with this pressure, while ahead of him he can see Hangraf and Koko and Kukuk just running a little bit away, which is not the sight you wanna see.
No, they're starting to build a gap. It's only 25 minutes, so this is going to fly by quickly. Cars are in the pits through the opening couple of laps, so something's happened to Camden Craft and Sven Landgraf. And Camden Craft is the sort of driver that you'd expect to be up there and fighting for in races like these, but he's more known as being a prototype specialist than in GT spec. So that's something to note with them both in the pits after a lap and 2 respectively. Handgraaf then with the fastest lap, but look down the inside there with Casper de Kort on Swaggy, but let's take a look at the replay here.
Yeah, let's see what happened here. So that's Camden Craft, and that's down into the SS, just getting a little bit of curb on the inside, trying to return to the racing line, and just there was really no room there for Camden Craft, and he slots himself between Lux Lutz and even Loskutov, and as a result of that just gets spun out and getting a lot of damage as well. So it's a very narrow place down into those SS, and you have to be very careful when returning back to the racing line, and if there's no room, well, you can't simply go there, and that's a lesson learned.
Yeah, if you move out, you've got to find a way to get back in. Dylan Platt then for Lion GP looks to try and start his hunt to get a little bit closer in this one to move up to 11th position, as just behind that is Pro-Am leader through on or second place in Am in Ivan Loskutov at the moment. They've got 16 seconds in the back pocket to go and work with, so Loskutov then will be trying to get back up for an overall place as they go through 10A, 10B. I'm keeping my eye on the championship leader, Oye Hugo, though, because he's back down the inside. Casper de Kort, there's contact, 1-2. De Kort's around, Hugo, championship leaders in the wall.
Oh, don't return back to the track. Just spinning across and now hit the brakes, please. Some rejoins there, but doing a good job of keeping it outside of the racing line. Just that looked so terrifying when you see a car spinning across the track on the main straight.
Honestly, it is a moment which you just wish you never see. A car go spearing back across. Fortunately, everyone avoids it, but a massive moment then for your championship leader as we focus back further forward here to the scrap we got. Yellow flag is out. We have a caution for it, and a safety car here will bunch the field together, and I think an all-important look now at where everyone stacks up.
Absolutely. So let's see what happened there then. Coming up onto the main straight, you got Hugo, the championship leader, then out down to the inside, and that's one of those down to the inside moves that can end up so badly because the track sort of narrows out coming onto the main straight, and you can see Hugo then just spinning across the entire track, thankfully at a reasonably high speed and over a gap. Probably just trying to get it spun around or something. Honestly, it's it is really, at that point, you're a passenger mostly on that car. Very unfortunate contact, just both of them really running out of space. But yeah, it can be very difficult to judge how well your car will turn on that inside. You can see it here. The track sort of narrows out. The wall on the left-hand side will come at you in a hurry, and that curb on the right-hand side is so high that you don't really want to take it too much. So we call it in rally terms in Finland, we call it a sumppu, which means sort of a narrowing corner, and that is exactly a sumppu spot.
Well, it's tough for Hugo there. There was not much room. He was fighting on the exit. It all pretty much fades away to the outside curb through the final corner, and just the tiniest tag sets off the chain reaction, and maybe even the traction control kicking in there, stopping that to go through. Now, Ivan Loskutov here is down in pit lane, which I think is interesting as far as this goes. If he does have a penalty to serve, it would be an end of line for entering a closed pit, so to speak. So for Ivan Loskutov, that will be something to note then for the 249 car, which is out of the race by the sounds of things. So I'm just looking down the order, trying to find Ivan, and at least for the moment, I am not finding Ivan Loskutov out there. So that is going to be a real hurt then for running as it goes. So Cook is there with Steinhandgraf and Trevor Vorosky third. Davide Pezzi in fourth, and we'll take another look here on what will be classified as a short caution at what has been going on then just at that safety car period.
Yeah, and you can see Vanozzi there then going to the main straight. Let's see what happened to him. So he's moving to the inside and just loses it on the damp surface. Very quick move down to the inside, loses it on the damp surface, takes out his fellow driver in turn number 1. Thankfully, a relatively light hit into that barrier, but that just goes to show you how quickly you can really lose that grip, especially with sudden moves like that. I understand the intention of wanting to move quickly down to the inside to fool the driver ahead of you, making that quick move, but just don't lose it, man.
I'm just getting word that it's a drop for Ivan Loskotov, so a connection issue is going to force him out of contention then here in this race. So let's just get stock of where everyone is at the moment, who has gained and who hasn't. So at the moment, you've still got your GT3 AM leader ahead of your GT3 Pro Am leader out there at the moment. Johan Neshev is behind Luke Sloats right now, and it's just one position between them as they stack at the moment. But critically, they both have their categories. It is pretty much a free-for-all at the moment at the front of the championship field. When you can, oh, hello. It's getting a little bit chippy out there because they're all having to slow up and avoid contact. That's what you have when a driver hits the brakes and someone doesn't expect it. Car in front hits the brakes, car in front hits the brakes, and nowhere to go. Van der Grijp, 13th place. If he wanted anything out of this race after the penalty off the start, he would have needed a caution to bring him back. He's lucky again.
Oh, he is. And this is a very, very interesting position for a driver, because having been in this place where you sort of get your second chance after losing a lot of ground early on in this race, on one hand, you are gutted about that black flag initially, especially if you feel like the leader didn't get a start they were supposed to, and you get a black flag, you get penalized for it. Whatever, you have to come in, you think the race is done, but now you find yourself down in the pack in 13th place, but crucially, you can see all the 12 places ahead of you, and the feeling's gotta be right. I haven't got much to lose here. I got everything to gain. They will have about 10 minutes to race once they come across the line, I do believe, at the end of this lap. So Ryan van der Grijp is going to be one of those drivers we definitely have to watch out for. And having to make gains in this race. We know he's got the pace, but does he have the patience to pull it off?
Let's just consider the GTO standings right now. Oye Hugo out, Van der Grijp mired in the pack, Corbin Lenaway not here and in chat wishing he could race. Trevor Vavrovsky is the nearest rival of Noor Zwaggy, and Zwaggy's only 2 places behind, so he'll be very happy with the results that are going through. As noted, lights are off on top of the BMW M2 safety car. This will mean that we will go back to green flag running then here around the Road Atlanta circuit, the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta circuit, under the Fox Factory Bridge, and the start, remember, they can only go on the drop of the green. Freight Cook will be the one in control. The green flag drops, and they are underway again. Steinhandgraf was pretty good. They're side by side, and questions whether Marcelo Caserta was overtaken there by Antti Terho before the line as they now work into turn number 1. Oh, big wiggle in front of them, and there's going to be a car off then. I think that is going to be Michele Velazzi who goes sideways, and everyone avoids it and keeps themselves going. Bokhager now in the middle, and look how busy it's getting up into turn 3. They realise places must be gained early.
Oh, absolutely, and this is the best place to do it, right at the start when everyone's stacked together, when everyone has to check up. You want to go flat out. Miss that checkup. Meanwhile, there's a spin, and that's in the middle of the track, and that's a terrible accident for Niels Bokhagen. It's at moment like this. I'm glad we're watching sim racing.
They've got to throw a caution. Sven Beber's in it. And that's you. Oh, 2 more go around the background. Banging into the wall. I think it's Noor Zwaggy who's been caught up potentially there. It is. And he needed a good run. And suddenly everyone in trouble in a race like today. What is going on at Road Atlanta? There is drama everywhere you look. Meanwhile, at the front, here goes Steinhandgraf to the inside. He'll take the lead with 9 minutes to go. It's 4 to the floor and away.
Yep, and 4 guys just running away from everybody else. I think it's the heat cycles, Jake. I think because those tires have gone through a heat cycle now. They went hot, then they went cold, and now they're a slight bit used, and they're cold in that opening lap, while Bobrovsky tries to make a move into turn number 2.
Oh, he's trying, but he's not going to get there. Good defense by Freight Cook there for Manatee as he holds himself then into play. Little flash of the lights from Trevor just to acknowledge there what happened between and Petsy sideways then through turn 5. He's going to save it at the cost of about a second to 2 seconds that he'll lose. Replay coming up then. What a moment that we have seen on that restart. Everywhere there's troubles. Caserta, first and foremost, was the one who lost it, and so that's almost 2 laps in a row. He comes back across the circuit, can't lock up the tyres, and then Boakhager, he just gets sent for a roller coaster ride.
Oh, absolutely. Just getting bouncing off that wall, concrete wall on the inside, bouncing off it and right across the track, and that's a nightmare scenario for any driver. So one of the things that you could see there, sort of how it all started, you got understeer in the middle of turn number 5, and it's an uphill corner. You can easily understeer there, and that understeer can so easily turn into snap oversteer once you try to turn more, once you try to make the car turn in order to not run wide, and then just the back end will snap out in a hurry. And that is such a difficult thing to do. That is one of the most difficult things as a racing driver that you have to deal with in any scenario. Cold tires, understeer, turning into snap oversteer, you just don't have the grip, and there's not much you can do.
We are getting word, Dennis, we'll take another look here, that incident will be reviewed post-race. This is Sotorov's view right in front of this, so he'll look around and see. Car's going to go across the circuit. Oh! How on earth do you avoid that? That's across the nose then of that AMG Mercedes, and that could have been so much worse than it was. That's blinked twice and you missed it.
Oh, just sort of. Somebody bring that man a new set of underpants, I think, at this point.
Apparently Amazon can do same-day delivery if you order before 11 o'clock.
Oh, that's good to know.
So, down on the brakes then. Vavrovsky in third, Cook second. Stein Handgraf your leader. Side by side behind as Johan Neshev tries to go around the outside, turns to the inside on Dylan Platt. The car in fifth for a top 5. Neshev started 23rd in this race, and the Pro-Am leader is now up into 5th. Crossing the line, has the inside for turn 1. Behind him will be his teammate Sotorov against Don von Zutphen, who is second at the moment here in Pro-Am, and just about unable to hold that back. It could have been a negative delta 1-2 for the Bulgarian-based team. Not quite. Torchio and Maggioni behind trying to work through as well. Luke Slopes is looking like he wants to have a scrap here, does the AM?
Oh, absolutely, and you can see he's doing really well, especially someone in the AM category, less experienced. You have less iRating and a spinner in front of him, just about able to avoid, and that was a moment and a half. That's Macchioni 10 going out and into the concrete wall on turn number 5, which is claiming victims left, right, and center here. Meanwhile, Van der Grijp, we talked about him, up into 8th place, up 5 from the restart, has a chance to grab another 2.
Well, he'd love to get by. None of them are going to be for his category, though, except for Casper de Kork, who is there. He will try and push along as we take the look from Alessandro Vanozzi. And the issue that we are seeing here is the Absolute Motorsport Aetolith cars that are making those progresses, and Van der Grijp just gets them both going into 10A and 10B. Wonderful stuff. But those Corvettes, I wonder if they don't have enough grip on the back to keep them planted through turn 5 in these treacherously, I would say, intermittent conditions right now, a track that's drying.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's a setup issue where at Road Atlanta traditionally you want to run a little bit less downforce than usual, because the most important place in this track is that long back straight. And in order to have the speed in that long back straight, you want to have less downforce in order to gain top speed. But what that means is that the car is dancing on the edge of the grip. Meanwhile, Vavrovsky looking to the inside in Lesmo 1, not quite able to pull it off.
Some would say that it's very Italian-like, but here's the difference with turn 6 and 7. Turn 6 on camber, turn 7 off camber.
Yeah, and turn 7 is, it kind of comes at you. It's tighter than you expect, unlike the equivalent, so to speak, in Monza, Lesmo 2. And it's off camber. The inside curb is really rough, the outside curb is rough, and you always feel like you're going either too slow or too fast into the corner. It's very hard to find that correct speed, and I don't think I've ever felt like I've gotten a good exit out of turn number 7. That might be a skill issue on my part, hence why I'm here instead of there.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you. I can't drive very well around here, so I'm very much up here in the commentary box as we focus on board with Wawrowski. Davide Pezzi, though, has been setting purple lap after purple lap, and he has caught back up to this group. So his Absolute Motorsport Acelith Corvette is flying right now around this place. Here's the I would say caveat you've got to it at the moment. He can catch. He's got 3 minutes to get by all 3 of these drivers. That's not going to happen the way that Stein Handgraf has been leading at the front. He's done a wonderful job. It's Frank Cook here that's having to play defense here to Wawrowski.
And Wawrowski, you can see there when we talked about turn number 7, how he uses that inside curb to make the car turn just a little bit better, especially in these conditions. Those curbs are gonna be very treacherous and very wet. So you can use it, kind of like in karting, you can use the inside curb and just make the car turn a little bit better, and you could see it improved his exit. However, he did not have that top speed to quite challenge Kukuk there, so he is still behind. Meanwhile, he sees Pezzi's figure getting larger and larger, that Corvette looming closer in that rear view camera.
And so Wawrowski is going to start thinking about how can I attack right now with 2 laps to go here at Road Atlanta for the sprint. The master race will follow directly after this one. Ryan von der Grij with the fastest lap now for 1:17.2, but the GT Dynamics AMG Mercedes here is trying to get by the Manatee Racing Mercedes and not having too much love of it. It's the grunt of the Ford Mustang of Stein Handgraf that leads this one overall. It's comfortable right now for Johan Neshev in his category, and it's 4 seconds for Luke Slotes at the moment to deal with, quite comfortable in AM as things stack up. Now the long launch out of 7 through the small kick left of 8. They will head over towards turn number 9, and I wonder here if Frake is going to have to look behind Ozzy.
And I wonder too if Wawrowski is being a little bit tentative thanks to that earlier mishap early on here. No, he goes to the inside and once again looks to go very wide. That's a great exit for Freak, but unfortunately gets a little tap on the middle of the corner, and that affected his exit out there, but still able to take that position away from Wawrowski, and onto the turn 1 they go.
Top right, what a move as Wawrowski gets to the inside. Dan van Zutphen, done brilliantly by Alessandro Torchio to go through. Wawrowski up then into second. Sotorov makes it a Pro-Am 1-2 for Negative Delta, but there's still laps to go. Look at this, side by side. Sotorov is not giving this one up as he goes to the outside. He'll overcook it, go through the grass. He'll get a slowdown for his troubles, and now through the middle will try and go. Ryan van der Grij on Dan van Zutphen. That's not going to work down through the S's. They fall themselves into line. Sotorov holds his station steady as they now climb out of turn number 5. Van der Grij having to get everything that he can. There is just one final section that remains on this circuit, out of 7 to go. Wawrowski getting the legs now on Frank Cook, but they're trying to catch the car there of number 21 out there at the moment, and you can call blackjack and say winner out there and cash in what has been a crazy start to racing here at Road Atlanta, because for Ice Storm Velocity, it's Stein Handgraf who will come to the line and take sprint honors.
What a performance for Stein in these treacherous conditions, where you see drivers spinning out left, right and center. You saw accidents, you saw cars flying upside down over the track, bumping off concrete walls. It's Handgraf who is able to master these conditions, pull away from the field with the likes of Wawrowski, with the likes of Kukuk, with the likes of Pezzi and Plot, and just able to pull off that victory. You see drivers racing to the line here, still in tight battles, but man, if the sprint was anything to go by, we are in for a treat today.
We are, because we'll have so many drivers trying to recover through the field. Let's get some confirmation of results by category out there. And in GT3 Pro, it was Stein Handgraf who would get the result wanted over Trevor Wawrowski, as Frank Cook would finish off in 3rd position. Davide Pezzi would be 4th all things said and told, with Dylan Platt 5th in class ahead of Alessandro Torchio, get by both Von Zutphen and Sotorov heading on to the final lap. Ryan van der Rijp would get 7th and critical points to recover with, as Casper de Kort would be 8th, Ryan Fuqua 9th, and Nord Zwagi can only manage 10th place in GT3 Pro. Over with Antti Terho in 11th and Michele Velazzi in 12th. Marcelo Caserta out of the race, as well as the championship leader, Oye Hugo, which sends a rift right now in the championship standings. Also out was Camden Craft, as Aussie sits by with GT3 Pro-Am honours.
Yeah, and it was a surprising field in GT3 Pro-Am. Not the surprising winner, though. Jan Neshu mastering these conditions 6 seconds ahead of Miroslav Soderov, with Dan van Zutphen in 3rd, Alessandro Vanozzi in 4th, and Roberto Stefano Kovac in 5th place. Marvin Bear was actually the last one to finish in that field, with Sven Landgraf, Daniel Macchioni, Mika Hoekstra, and Daniel Dorscheid all classified as more or less retired from this event, as well as Michael Teichmann, Sven Weber, and Niels Baukhage.
We saw a massive incident there for Niels Baukhage, who still probably has about half his car splintered across turn 5. Luke Sloats drove magnificently in that race to take the win, 3.5 seconds clear of Kevin Maillard and Marcel Nürnberg at 12 seconds adrift. A disconnect for Ivan Loskotov puts him 3 laps down, but critically a finisher, and so will still score points out there in terms of this race, and that will be big in terms of role and responsibility for it. But talk about opening up a championship here. The second half of this season, you look to try and build, and you often get those second half of the races, they're actually quite quiet. Here, they've got themselves noisy off of the start, and the field absolutely everywhere out there. Just want to give a little bit of context to what we've got going on. In the top 10 of that 25-minute race, Aussie, 4 drivers started outside of the top 20 and finished in the top 10.
Yeah. If you had the control, if you had the correct setup, the experience from these kind of conditions, and crucially, the patience to try and wait, not to go in too hard in those corners, you could make absolutely brilliant gains in this race. And they did that. They did very well to avoid all the incidents, but they also had the pace. Let's not forget about the most important things. You have to have pace in order to pull off those overtakes, and they did that. So it certainly was the kind of event where qualifying performance wasn't the end-all, be-all, as we so often see, but instead it was sort of kind of the opening chapter, and then it sort of turned into a Tarantino movie later on.
Oh, it very much did. It was a case of who was left stood at the end, and so Stein Handeraff will be very happy that he came away with the win in GT3 Pro and overall honours for it. But there is also a benefit for keeping your head above water in race number 1. It's that when you come to race 2, where you finish in race 1 is your grid order for race 2. So Oye Hugo, your championship leader coming into today, now has to go from the final row of the grid in the hour and 5 minutes that will come along in the feature to try and make this work.
Yeah, and during this warm-up, there is one other important thing. Let's talk about that really soon, but one other important thing I want to mention, the track has now dried out as the day has progressed. Now, it's not a big difference. We saw some splash of water. They were all on dry tires in that sprint race. But what you have to do here during this short warm-up session is to try and make some final adjustments perhaps to your setup. If you went a little bit conservative with more wing, I think Wawrowski was one of those drivers that was a little bit careful with the wing settings, with the downforce on that sprint race. Then you have to find the grip here, find that confidence again and see, okay, what adjustments can I do? Anyway, now that it is a dry track, there should be a little bit less drama, a little bit less driving error. So that makes the job, that makes the job of someone like Lux Lutz, who doesn't have the greatest of Loskotov, who doesn't have the greatest of starting positions, even more difficult. Same for the other drivers who got caught out in that sprint race. So they're gonna have 65 minutes of carving their way through the field with 2 mandatory pit stops. And they're just gonna have to master the traffic, essentially master those pit stops, And again, have that patience, because you get so many opportunities here. You get that early part where you have the traffic jam. You are so tempted to go for that small gap that appears. But more often than not, especially here in Road Atlanta, it's a trap.
So 65 minutes on the clock then for the master race that is coming up, and it will be 2 mandatory pit stops with 47% fuel in the tank. A custom balance of performances is presented by TFR Lab. But here's what is going to throw this master race up in the air. Aussie, rain is about 15 minutes away. We have 4 minutes remaining here in warm-up.
Well, that just throws my previous analysis right into the bin.
So, this suddenly is going to look a lot different. And the question's going to be whether it rains straight away off the start or whether they get 5 minutes to get their feet dry. That's what they're going to be looking around. Because if it rains off the start, they know almost immediately their first pit stop is going to be immediate to get themselves through. The short stop comes first. If they get 5 to 10 minutes, they then have the ability to feel the dry tires, get them heated up, and then you're just waiting for the track to just switch to a point where you just can't hold on. It's Category 1 rain that is on the horizon, which is blue band rain, but there is also Category 2 rain, green band rain, which is following behind it. So it's going to only get heavier as they get going. Wind whipping around right now at 23 kilometers an hour, and I can confirm, as far as the rain forecast looks, that rain is going to arrive and it's not going to leave for the race.
Yeah, and one other thing to remember, this is quite a short circuit in a lot of ways. It's about 4 kilometers long, and you got over 30 cars running around it. So as the field spreads out, important thing that you brought up, is it gonna come right off the bat or is it gonna wait 5 to 10 minutes? Because if it's gonna wait 5 to 10 minutes, that means the field is gonna spread out just a little bit, and that means you got cars constantly keeping some rain, washing it off the racing line. You can keep those dry tires on for some time, but for how long do you want to do that? That is up to the question. And also something that we already brought up in the sprint race, getting off that racing line is gonna be even more treacherous, because there you got no grip, and especially once you have 2 wheels off that racing line, 2 wheels on it, that's just gonna spin the car right round, baby, right round.
Well, here's the thing though, when it gets wet, is that iRacing's probably got one of the greatest weather systems out there in all of sim racing, in the sense that you spend the entire time out there in dry running, taking a racing line, rubbering in the surface. The moment it rains, the last place you want to be is on the racing line, because rubbered in surface is slippy.
Exactly, and that's another thing to bring into it too. So you got less rain on that rubbered-in surface because the cars are driving the racing line. But once they start migrating off that racing line, and once the rain becomes heavier, and once that racing line gets slippy and wet regardless, you want to migrate off that racing line at some point. But when do you do it? And it's especially important when you break into the corners and go through the corners. So you want to steadily navigate off the racing line, off the rubber, outside onto the inside line under braking, which is the less used line. And same with the corners, you want to take the outside line away from the apex. So who is able to navigate these changing conditions? Who is able to make the transition right away? And who is able to pick the right time to get onto those wet tires? That's gonna play a massive effect, because again, we saw it already in sprint. Those curbs, these corners in Road Atlanta, they take no prisoners. Turn number 5 is something that's even in any condition, you got one line through there. So you just have to be careful. But there are some other places where you can go outside of that racing line, especially in the SS, just going around the outside, being brave, hanging around there. You can make seconds in there, but you have to know where to go.
You absolutely do. I would look at Johan Neshev in the best position of anybody right now. Beba retired from race 1, the sprint, and so he's going to take that 68 championship point advantage in Pro-Am. He could be over 100 points clear by the end of today, and that, you've got to remember, is 100 points a win in your endurance races. Checkered flag is out, so we'll be able to run down the grid for how they stack. It will be exactly as they go from the race results of race number 1. So it will be on the pole position Stein Handgraaf, who will have the control of the pack, with Trevor Vavrovsky alongside him on the front row. It will then be Freit Koek and Davide Pezzi on row 2. Dylan Platt will go from 6th, Alessandro Torchio from 7th, and then Ryan van der Rijp is back in 10th. Casper de Kort starts 11th, Ryan Fuqua in 15th, Noor Zwaggy is 18th, and will have a lot of work to do to jump up forward, knowing he's got to keep Van der Rijp pretty much at bay. Antti Terho and Michele Velazzi are 19th and 20th, with Marcelo Caserta 30th, Oye Hugo in 31st, and Camden Craft in 32nd to jump on through. Over to Aussie with Pro-Ams very quickly.
So Johan Neshev is going to be starting first in Pro-Am's 5th overall, with Miroslav Sodorov 8th overall, Dan Van Zutphen 9th, Alessandro Vanozzi in 12th, Roberto Stefano Kovac 17th, Marvin Bear in 21st, Sven Landgraf in 22nd, Daniel Macchioni 24th, Mika Hoekstra 25th, and Daniel Dorscheid 26th. Rest of the Pro-Ams in the back of the field, more or less. Michael Teichmann 27th, Sven Weber 28th, and Niels Baukhage in 29th.
And as far as they go, as they will now start to get their launch, it will be Luke Sloats, who should now be championship leader, 13th, Kevin Maillard 14th, Marcel Nürnberg 16th, and Ivan Loskatov in 23rd. The rain is imminent. It has not hit yet. You can see how ominous that weather
we have a spinner
is rolling in, and we do have a spinner towards the back, so that's dramatic. Vavrovsky has not taken the start as the green flag drops. Maggioni as well is there, so that's massive off of the get-go here as they get themselves sorted. Handgraaf and Koek side by side as they get themselves underway. I wonder how many penalties will come through from that then off the early get-go. They run through turn 1, there's just a tightrope that they walk through, and that's fine. Oh, there's a big hit already that goes through, sliding across. Can Alessandro Torchio get it slowed up? Yes, there's a car backwards at turn 2, just about avoiding it. It's going to be a bang into the side, I think, for Roberto Kovac and Ivan Loskatov.
A drama right off the get-go. Again, those cold tires. Again, drivers anxious after that sprint race to get going, and that just goes to show you you can't really hurry up the cold tires. You just have to wait it out. Don't be too aggressive early on, and a couple of drivers getting caught in issues in warm-up lap and in lap number 1. Ryan Fuguaten, one of these guys who is just trying to hold on to that lead back there side by side behind him. Van der Rijp, Sluts and Vanozzi 10 involved in a battle behind him.
Yeah, Vanozzi side by side with Sloats in the BMW as now for the race lead. Here comes a search to the outside. Koek can't find a way through on Stein Handgraaf, and so they are going to have to stay as they are outside line looking then as Van der Rijp gets himself involved and busy trying to go the long way around now here against Ryan Fuqua, who has been very quiet and understatedly had I would say a good run for him in the Hyperion Racing McLaren. We haven't seen too many McLarens, and remember, that McLaren is effectively unbopped.
It is, and that McLaren is could prove to be even more effective in the wet conditions, because it's one of those cars with middle engine layout, meaning that it's got naturally a bit more grip to those rear tires, helping it in the slow corners. Same with a couple of other machines, so I wonder how that's gonna affect the performance once the rain does hit, and we are waiting for it. It is imminent, watching for those umbrellas outside of the commentary booth. When will they start to pop up in the stands? Meanwhile, Van der Rijp just running a bit wide over the curb, trying to get that position done, but not quite able to get past Fuqua.
Yeah, penalties then from race 1. Sloat's got 5 seconds, Torchio 5, Bear 5, Vanozzi 10, Loskatov 10, Oye Hugo got 20, Anti-Tejo a warning, Nordswaggy got 5 seconds, and Marcelo Caserta then with 5 seconds for a qualifying infringement out there. There is word that a penalty will be added in from about lap 3 onwards. We're about to hit that lap 3, and we'll see which car has been dinged for that. As finally around the outside, Ryan van der Rijt is going to go and get, and he's going to hold, and now it's going to work to get back to Miroslav Sotorov, who is there in 2nd position in the GT3 Pro-Am category. A good, important move here in the middle of the pack, trying to move on forward.
Oh yeah, and now it's gonna be one of those cases where you got all those cars stuck behind them throughout that battle. They went side by side for most of the duration of the previous lap. Now Van der Rijt is in a hurry to get away from those guys. Fugua is in a hurry to try and hold on to Van der Rijt before everyone behind them will start to get hungry and greedy for those positions. Lux Lutsten on the outside, just losing an overall position, but not really in the mix in his category with these guys, but still holding on well in that pack, and the rain is coming down.
It's taken just 4 minutes and the rain is here. It was going to hit on the back stretch first from where the weather formation was coming over, and moves now critical. Petsy trying to get by Cook, and look at it, it's going to chuck it down, and it's not going to take too long, I think, before this track's going to get too wet. 5 to 10 minutes maximum, I think, before they're all coming in for wet tyres.
Yeah, and this is a very important stage for the driver, because the track is effectively, well, the track is still dry. You got the rain coming down, but the track is dry. But the mental effect, that's gonna hurt your confidence. You can see the rain coming down off your windscreen, the windscreen wipers turning on, and your mental state will go, okay, be careful, the track is wet. Even though it's not, you still got that grip. So who is able to still keep charging while, well, the sun is not shining, but the track is still dry, and who is just holding off a little bit, having that mental effect, trying to be a bit more careful, because you don't really know lap after lap what the grip is going to be next lap in that corner. Can you still charge it up, say, into turn number 5 flat out? Will it be better than the previous lap? The laps are short, but it's still going to get only damper and damper as the race goes on.
Oye Hugo was the driver who'd picked up over 15 seconds of penalty, and that translates to a stop and hold. So that's in play. Pit window officially open now for every driver here on lap 4 of this race, and everyone is going to start searching about for moves out there on track. Are they going to have the ability to keep themselves all clean and tidy at this moment in the race? Handhraff has pulled away to 1.7 seconds. Mid-pack getting busy. This is Marvin Bear, who is now looking to try and keep himself a little bit careful, with Michele Velazzi then for 0-7, trying to work out whether there's going to be a way through. Answers no, as they will dive into turn number 1, and the confidence level is going to fade away more and more and more as you try and hold steady. But there have been some big movers already in the race. Sven Beba, by the way, up 14 spots in the opening 5 minutes.
Well, that's a spicy drive from him.
Wow. I am looking at how Beba's just done a wonderful job out there, and also Marcelo Caserta has gone up 14-2. Not much you can do there as Velazzi dives at turn 6 and gets the move. Kevin Maillard is now having to deal with Landgraf for position, who just about gets the placement through, and now Michael Teichmann is going to get involved in this as well, so he's going to get the launch then in the Lion GP Academy car, and he is going to motor on by here along the backstretch.
Yep, and see if he can hold on to that position 10, down braking into 10A and 10B, the chicane at the end of the back straight, and does pull it off, and there's contact behind. Marcel Nürnberg just about holding on to that, keeps it away from spinning, got tapped round, but held on, which is very impressive, especially as these cars have traction control and ABS, so you don't have your usual tricks to try and keep it under control. You just sort of have to stop it from sliding. Meanwhile, Antti Terho getting a little bit aggressive with Ryan Fugua there, and Fugua ends up losing not only 1 but 2 positions, as Norse Vagiten is wanting to make that 2 into 3 exiting turn 5.
Yeah, he's going to get a good run, and now he's going to pivot to the inside. Fuqua was taking a more rounded corner compared to Antti Terho, who took the diving line. The contact came, and the positions then were lost, and the lunge is not complete, but he does try and force out wide. Then Ryan Fuqua, and he's not going to get it. That McLaren's going to be very slippery on the straight here, and he's going to find a way back. Up in front of that, you've got Platt versus Sotorov versus Von der Wright as they all start searching for a move. Oh my goodness, what a pass by Miroslav Sotorov. He had a tightrope.
Yeah, he did. He had exactly that, but he held it on that tightrope, went 3 wide into the chicane and got those 2 positions. So yeah, he went all in on that one and came out the winner. Well, not the winner, but getting 2 positions at least, and Sotorov now 4 seconds away from the class lead. Kasper de Kort, meanwhile, makes it up to 4th place in that graphite racing car and getting past Alessandro Torchio there into the SS. So you can see now some drivers being a little bit more confident, some drivers just letting off the throttle slightly, and you can see who is brave in these conditions, who has the trust in their abilities, and who has done their homework in the rain.
Well, they are gonna know that you need a very light or a lightly wet track to feel like you are going to need to switch your tyres. Oye Hugo, fastest lap of the race. He's got clean air to work with, but he knows as well that this is going to be a long run to get to the point of where they need to out there overall. Track, as things stand, is called dry at the moment. 16 degrees is the temperature. And look at that, a little bit. Oh. Hey, anti, and that is going to be enough to hold the place, fighting hard then into the corners there with Dylan Platt. Platt going backwards at the moment. Antti Terho gets his move, but he has twice now, has Antti in the number 7 car, 7th overall in class, being very much elbows out.
Yeah, Antti is a little bit naughty out there, but he's that kind of driver. I know Antti pretty well. I've raced teammates with him, actually at Petit Le Mans. So he's an ex-Glacier Racing driver, did some races with Inertia, is now with Def Sim Racing, and he is an elbows out kind of driver. He's a very kind, unassuming guy, your typical Finn, has a smile on his face, a very nice person, but when he gets out there on the track, he's elbows out. He's a fan of pro wrestling, he's a fan of NASCAR, and he's a fan of that style of driving as well.
Well, the stewarding team there, Aussie, have given him a German suplex. That's 5 seconds worth of time penalty.
Oh, so yeah. That's a bit of an insection 10 and a DDT on Antti.
Yeah, Sven Beber now having himself a scrap out there. He's going to be the next driver to try and get by Fuqua for position. The NJB Performance Lamborghini Huracan is trying to muscle for the move. It's going to go to the outside. Norzwagi tries to cover both drivers off on the inside, and now Beber is going to go screaming around the outside, gets the pass done on the McLaren, and that sets up the Corvette then of Marcelo Caserta to try and get the pass around, and that's not going to work for the Corvette as they try and figure a way through. So still it's going to be patient, and you're starting to see rooster tails off the back of the Hyperion McLaren there in the light blue.
Yep, you are, and the track is getting increasingly wet by the second. Still cold dry, but that's gonna change soon. You see that the water is starting to splash out. You can see, especially off the line, how the cars are maybe soon starting to understeer just a little bit. You saw it on top of your screen, by the way. Terho, despite that 5-second penalty, is trying to make up some gains, putting the fastest lap of this race. So he's going to be one of the more interesting drivers to watch out for right here in this pack. I think leading the pack away, actually. We are watching for onboard Caserta and just utilizing that advantage, utilizing that draft behind Fuqua, behind Beber.
I'll tell you who is the most interesting driver right now. It's Johan Neshev, because he's on the back now of Cook and Petsy, which is 2nd, 3rd and 4th overall. And he's been so dominant in the category of Pro-Am. He has been challenging the pros for wins. He challenged for victory at Daytona. Now in these intermittent conditions, yes, we are 12 minutes in, but Johan Neshev is challenging for overall victory as Kasper de Kort behind sets the fastest lap of the race on a 1:17.2, trying to hunt down Dan van Zutphen here in the top right of your screen, is going to go and really try and attack here. This is going to be tough with Kevin Maillard, the AM in front, Marvin Bear, his teammate behind.
And I reckon Maillard should be pretty good in these conditions, no?
I think so. If he is anything like a mallard duck, he would be very much a duck to water.
Yes. Well, you gotta feather the throttle just a little bit on the exit of the corners, but that's enough puns for right now. I am truly apologize for everyone. No, I don't. Dan van Zutphen 10, we are watching him, and meanwhile behind, that's, I believe, Daniel Dorscheid just able to avoid some action ahead with Marvin Bear in that Manatee Racing car, getting wide in turn number 5 and getting under pressure from Ryan Fuguaten.
That's Camden Craft.
Oh, Camden Craft, yeah.
So this is going to be Camden Craft trying to recover through the field, gain as much time as he possibly can, and he'll be staring down the fact that he's got to make this move now on Marvin Bear. He's vulnerable after going wide at turn 5 and down the hill on the brakes, and it does puddle up a little bit here, but not at the moment. Double take from Marvin Bear. Couldn't turn in when he wanted to. Camden Craft goes through, and now here comes the next car, Danny Dorscheid, trying to get himself a chance to move on up.
Yeah, and Marvin Bear is struggling with his condition just a little bit, struggling with his race right now just a little bit. He's trying to find his rhythm, but that is so very hard to do when you are in this sort of battle pack, when you're bleeding, when you're going downwards in the pack and you try to find your grip and you overdrive into the corners, like here in turn number 2, just catching that curb a little bit too much on the inside, sliding wide and unable to quite find that confidence. Dorscheid, meanwhile, is watching like, okay, I gotta get past this guy and I gotta get past soon, because otherwise I'm gonna lose time behind him too, and takes it into turn number 6 already. But Marvin Bear able to hold on to that for now. Let's see if that's gonna remain the same going down into the chicane, down that long back straight.
It's category 1 rain at the moment. This is the lightest rain that you can have, and it's taking a while for this circuit to really wetten up, but there is category 2 rain and even yellow band category 3 rain, and anything above category 3 rain or hitting category 3 rain is the heavens will open, and that's going to be scary, that weather cell that will be there. Miroslav Sotorov, though, isn't giving up at the moment compared to Von der Rijp, is just holding himself steady right now. They're running in the 118s, the group in front also in the 18s, so they are very much at that pace level where they can't really make too much progress. Everyone is just trying to survive at the moment, give themselves as much of a platform as possible. Someone at some stage is going to have to be that driver, as wide goes Noor Swaggy, and that's going to allow then the wonderful Sven Beber to move on up, and that puts him from 28th now to 12th in this race. At some point, someone's going to guinea pig to a wet tyre.
Oh yeah. It feels like the wet tire has got to be faster. Okay, I'm losing too much grip, but nobody wants to blink first, and they all know, according to the data, it is not the right time yet, and the wet tire is going to have even less grip, even if it feels a little bit safer than outside of that racing line. Meanwhile, battles right in front of them, Vanozzi and Platt, then trying to figure out who is the fastest. Currently, Vanozzi going 10 ahead of Dylan Platt. They are in different classes, but they are in the same overall conversation. And crucially, with Vanozzi getting past, I wonder if Sven Beber is next one who is looking to get in ahead of Dylan Platt as well, because he is fighting with Vanozzi in that Pro-Am category for the podium place in that class.
Here's the awkward thing, though. They're about 8 minutes away from the first cycle of pit stops naturally. Yeah. So the question's going to be, if you stay on dries at your first natural pit stop, or you switch to wet, as Platt holding himself steady, but Beber is definitely looking aggressive. You've got Zwaggy having to half defend Fukua and Caserta behind, but for right now it is Sven Beber who is the hot knife. There's the look down, he spins it, and there's contact there. Beber gets into the side of Zwaggy. Zwaggy had no way of avoiding that, tips him back round the right way. Platt can now scamper off, but Zwaggy's now going to get the run.
Yeah, and let's see how well Fugua behind them can deal with the Agua as they are racing side by side. down in towards the chicane. Weber looking to the inside. He has the inside line locked in, but he's a little bit behind, braking just a bit earlier, wondering if Swaggy will run himself wide. He did not. That's gonna be very awkward coming into the pits, as you said, trying to make that correct decision. Davide Pezzi, meanwhile, trying to hold the hard-charging Jan Neshu back. And Neshu, once again, just like in Daytona, I'm almost tempted to say, move that man up to pro.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say it too. He has been so quick, but they are where they are for the season. I'm sure next time the SimRacing Open is taken, or the GT Open, he will be moved up to pro because he is that quick, he is that good, and the Bulgarian scene is simply magnificent out there in terms of the caliber that they've got. It's been a very long weekend actually for Johan Neshu because he's been racing in the SimGear Endurance Series as well as Fukua, still trying to hold, and there's a little bit of a scrap in front as again, overtake central is going to happen in the mid-pack. Swaggy through on Dylan Platt.
Yep, that pack is just not slowing down, and here you can see Weber once again trying to make gains, trying to follow the draft. Let's see if we can see a 3 wide here coming into the chicane. Weber is the kind of driver who is at least looking for it, and instead passes around the outside. Wow!
Well, saw how the braking zone was extended by Norzwagi. It was a case of monkey see, monkey do, and that was easily done there for Zwaggy. I see what you're doing. I'll extend the same way, and I'll get my brake sorted. And Dylan Platt, I think, is being very tentative in these conditions, and it's leaving him so vulnerable out there on track. Fukua now wants to try and get to placement, will the American, against the Brit, but for the moment, it looks like it's a case of I am very scared to access as much grip as there is available from Dylan Platt.
And it's a very, very scary situation as well, because they are running so close to each other. They're leaving each other no room to work with, no room for errors. And once you get out of that racing line, trying to get back into it is increasingly difficult because the gap is so small. You just have to kind of brave it. And once you got no room to work with, you are sort of tempted to be a bit more tentative. You have to just be a bit more careful, or you get increasingly aggressive, trying to make yourself some room, trying to get those elbows out, saying, look, you have to give me that space, always leave the space, but you have to take it if nobody is leaving it, and that usually leads to some precarious situations, so to speak. But you can see the gap, the pack behind Weber now. There is a gap forming. Ryan Fukua is trying to get past Dylan Platt, who, as you mentioned earlier, is being perhaps a bit tentative in these conditions right now. Just a bit more careful than the drivers behind, not quite having the pace to hold on.
Well, here's something that often goes underrated. You get downforce from having more weight in the car. The more that they're burning the fuel right now, the less downforce they will have, and so as they're turning these laps around, you're getting more and more light and loose around this circuit, and as the circuit deteriorates in terms of how much water is on it, it gets worse and worse and worse as it goes along. Now here goes Caserta around the outside, there's contact, there goes Caserta into the gravel, does hit the barriers, bang! Into the wall he goes hard. He's immediately on the noisy pedal to get back going forward though, so he found gear very quickly, and he's only going to drop behind Dan van Zutphen and Michael Teichmann by position. Kevin Maillard is going to join up and say oh hi, and very fortunate actually that the spoilers stayed on. That thing is made very good, and some Corvettes have been accused of having plastic on the back and so absorbed the weight very well as Vanozzi makes the move.
Yeah, so very lucky there, Vanozzi getting past. That's not the lucky part. The lucky part was hitting the wall and getting right back going, only losing a couple of seconds somehow and not getting major damage. And the pit stops are coming up soon, as we see Sven Beberten moving to the inside, making that look very easy indeed past Alessandro Vanozzi, so taking that final podium position in the Pro-Am class, or at least holding on to it. But yeah, so you got the pit stop cycle coming up soon. We mentioned it already. You can also repair the car during that pit stop cycle. So if there is damage from that wall hit, then you can see it in the pits. You can see, okay, is it worth it to repair it? Can I repair it just a little bit? And without having to make an extra pit stop. to check for it to potentially repair it. So very fortunate timing, very fortunate all around, having the best out of a bad situation.
Well, I look around and note there are no fast repairs, so any repairs that have to be done are optional repairs, and you're just hoping that the car has held itself together through any troubles that you may or may not have had over the course of this race. The pace has dropped by about 2 seconds from where they were at the start of this race. They're in the 117s, they're now in the 119s at the moment, so they're unable to hold the same pace that they did earlier on, but they are looking around and thinking, well, what's the weather going to do? They're about halfway through the toughest amount or the lightest amount of rain. It is going to get heavier. It's probably going to get heavier about 20 minutes right now. We say it's spotty rain at the moment, which means it's light. It's a case of you stick your hand out the window and you go, is it raining, is it not? It's going to be a case of it's a bucket of it when you get to the next stage of the race with about 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, you go from that drizzle to an absolute shower later on, and then it's gonna pour down, and then it's definitely no longer a question of which tire should you be on, but right now it's still a bit of a question. I think a couple of drivers are going to make that call of, right, I'm gonna stay on these dry tires, the pace hasn't dropped enough, the cars are still keeping the racing line relatively good, I'm gonna risk it, I'm gonna try and be a little bit faster. Other drivers perhaps thinking that the heavier rain is gonna come chucking down later on in the stint, and especially later on when the cars are light, they have less downforce, less grip, as you mentioned, worn tires. That's gonna be an effect as we see still battles going on into the chicane, still holding pretty well side by side with Platt and Fugua. Oh no, and that's Platt and Fugua into the wall.
Right,
at least Fugua.
A massive hit into the wall there, and he's going to have to wait for everybody to clear through before he can get back going. He's done well on the rejoin there, but that's tough there with Dylan Platt. They were fighting hard then on the outside, and Fukua basically tried to run out of space, Dylan Platt, but you got to remember, a Ford Mustang does not budge when you hit it.
No, it does not. It's like hitting a concrete wall or a hockey player, professional hockey player, that just does not budge. It's like driving into a brick wall. Meanwhile, Sutfen down into the SS. Danon Sutfen and Michael Teichmann getting very argy with each other and running out of space. And just, how did you hold that?
That was a safety life moment from Dan van Zutphen. He tagged just the right parts of the car to say, that's going to be the tag that gets you around. This is the tag on the front that's going to bring you back. So Teichmann able to save. We'll take another look in the top right here with what happened with Ryan Fuqua. You can see he moves over, he tries to run him out. Yeah, Mustang no move.
Mustang no move, and you just try to take the place, sort of karting move there, or racing move, trying to just run the guy out of racing space, trying to barge them out. But when there's a car there, you can't do that, and that is sadly something that is gonna result in an accident when you try to do that and you can't quite pull it off. Dorscheid, meanwhile, trying to hang it round the outside. A lot of drivers pitting now, as you mentioned. Dorscheid staying out. I wonder if he couldn't make it to the pit lane because he was side by side, or if he just has that one more lap of fuel left in the tank. Because if it's the former, then we're gonna see some heavy fuel saving potentially on this lap.
Right, here's the worry that I look at the moment here with the likes of Stein Handhraff getting out and away. Have they gone to a wet tyre, yes or no? Because they're looking around, they are going to have to hope that if they've not gone to a wet tyre, that it doesn't get that wet within 10 minutes. If they have, he's on a dry tyre at the moment. So it's a case of, if you're out there on a wet tyre, you're gambling, but people who have gone and stayed on a dry, as Alessandro Torchio is back out and going again and really tentative going around. He's on a wet tyre and he's just not got the moisture to basically get the grip out of the tyre he wants. You're hoping that it's going to bucket it down. In comes Davide Pezzi.
Yeah, so the guys who are on wet tires, they have to get out of the racing line right now, trying to find that moisture, trying to find those wet patches off track while dealing with cold tires. Now the thing is here, what Torchio is thinking probably, he's thinking it's safe, he's thinking, okay, it's gonna rain more and more, I wanna be on the correct tire later on, and I am willing to lose that time early on. But the thing is, Jake, as we know very well from racing, those wet tires do not last very long when the track is too dry for them. So yeah, it's gonna bucket down later. He's probably gonna be faster later on, but does he have the tread in that tire anymore to utilize it, or does he just run out of tire essentially here in the early part of this stint, and then when he's supposed to gain that advantage, he's still gonna slip out essentially because he no longer has the grip?
Well, the track's still mostly dry, so I turn around, I look at it, I think staying on the dry is the right decision if you can survive 10 minutes, and we're already 2.5 minutes through that, so you get to half an hour, you can make that final stop because you're fuel perfect, and you're there.
Yeah.
Betsy is out and away with Van der Rijp moving on through. Now Antti Terho is going to get by. I think this was a gamble to go on the wet, and I think it is not going to pay out straight away. Terho's through, and Nor Zwaggy is just going to fly on by. He's trying to go around the outside of Antti, and Antti pushes him out.
Yeah, you tried to go around the outside of Antti Terho. Well, that's not gonna happen. And brave move there into 6, and Antti just putting the elbows out and pretty much emphatically saying no. It's like you're showing up and trying to you know, sell I don't know, vacuum cleaners door to door, and Antti just slams the door to your face saying no and sends the hounds after you. So that's not the cleanest type of racing. I'm not advocating for it by any means, but yeah. You don't want to go around the outside of turn 6 either, because that's a move that relies a lot on your fellow driver to anticipate it, to see it coming, to be able to adjust their speed before the corner to accommodate for you being on the outside and then essentially give you the racing space. Meanwhile, we see here Trevor Wawrowski involved in T-Spac going 3 wide into the last corner, and of course it's Trevor, so he pulls it off.
Remember, Trevor missed the start to this race, and he's trying to recover his way back through, and so he now sits in 14th position, having missed the start. So he's got a lot to deal with. Frank Cook here, and now having to fight hard. That's with Johan Neshev, who has had a mistake going up through turn 5. In fact, he was stuck behind Roberto Kovac up the hill, and so Kovac, who is limping around here, and that has cost 2nd overall to Neshev, and now the gap about 3 seconds to catch the Stein Handgraf out there at this point in time. So there's a big difference maker in that one, and he was only a second behind was Johan Neshev then on that last lap. So we still have the scenario of Pro-Am could win overall.
Yeah, and it's also a question of which Pro-Am, because you got Miro Sodirov 1.7 seconds behind Neshev.
Yes, and you note that too, that Miroslav Sotirov has been a very respectable deputy in this one. Nozwagi! Contact, and Antti Terho is going to go for a roller coaster ride down the hill, just about trying to hold it together. Now needs to rejoin safely, and he has had a very busy day in that Acura.
Oh yes, he has, and yeah, that's a case of well, okay, 2 can play that game, I do believe. So Antti sadly getting spun out there. Davide Pezzi now in that wet tire, being able to get a bit closer to Antti for now, but it's going to be very curious to see how those wet tire runners are going to perform later on as the track keeps getting wetter and wetter. And the weather is certainly affecting them. Pezzi, meanwhile, having to deal with Michel Vilazzi right behind him. And Vilazzi then, just look at the grip difference between those 2 cars. You get an exit off turn number 5, and it's not even a question, it's just bye-bye.
It's about to bucket it, though, as far as the radar shows, and there is category 3 rain on the horizon too that they'll have to navigate by, and this is what you're gambling on with a wet tire. There will be a crossover point. We haven't hit it yet, and Johan Neshev will look around at it, and so will the rest of the group, who will be out there just trying to hold themselves steady and hope that the tire gets itself the value that it needs out there at this point. Neshev is having a truly wonderful run out there at this point, so that's going to be critical.
That's going to be absolutely crucial for him.
Themselves up. Johan Neshev will know that it's all about hold yourself steady. Daniel Maggioni is going to have to limp around, I think has brought the car to a stop and has actually towed the car at the moment. So that is going to be really hurting in terms of the run that they are needing at this point in time. Neshev in control of things as things stand, but there are still some big battles to be had on the horizon.
Wow.
Aussie
So
with-
look at
Aussie with
look at
seeing
this
some
battle.
great battling here. Davide Pezzi, look at him. He's dropping like a stone.
He's dropping positions left, right, and center. Teichmann getting past, and this trio just soldiering on here in Road Atlanta. 33 minutes left in this race. The crossover hasn't hit yet. I wonder when that will happen, but meanwhile, Michael Teichmann, I'm just looking at the live timing right now. He's trying to stick behind Lux Lutz. So you got Teichmann and you got Slots. And they are in different classes. They're 14th and 15th overall, but very much on a similar pace right now. Meanwhile, Pezzi losing another position.
Yeah, so another position then that will drop, but this is where the rain's starting to hit now. The track is very lightly wet, as is declared. So right now, this is where it's going to start hitting more with 32 minutes to go in this race. In comes Alessandro Vanozzi to make his stop. I think he couldn't sit back any longer and wait. He's going to dive down in, get his second stop out of the way. It'll be a quick stop, but it should be a stop that should put another set of tyres on. If he's out there and it's not worked then for wet tyres, I wonder if he's going to go back to dries at the worst possible time.
Yeah, indeed. So very important decisions here to make during the course of this race. Meanwhile, Torchio losing a position then up the hill, and you can see him there getting passed by Camden Craft, who has recovered from earlier mishaps. And speaking of mishaps, Dan van Zutphen running wide in turn number 5, potentially losing one, maybe 2 places there. Toe again in a different class with these guys.
Yeah, he is, and he knows that every place is going to hurt for Dan. He is representing one of us, Aussie, out there. He's doing it for the commentators as in comes Freek Cook for his final stop of the race. This should be to go on to wets. Von der Grijp and Zwaggy also picked.
Yeah, and these guys still side by side here on the back straight. Hearing potentially doing it for the commentators and trying to rep us just a little bit better by taking that position back. We are seeing increasing action in the pit lane. Kukuk in the pits, as you mentioned, Fukua in the pits, Van der Grijp in the pits, and here comes our commentator as well, Dan van Zutphen, getting into the pit lane.
Yeah, this is pit stop central now, and Dan here will be another driver in. Fukua, by the way, has come out miles ahead of Freek Cook then at the stop. So he has underfilled the car, or maybe even he has just topped up the car by comparison. And Ryan Fukua has had a wonderful run. Now it's Neshev versus Sotorov, and Sotorov is going to breeze on by. I wonder if Sotorov was on a wet tyre there. The way that he has just breezed by his teammate, who will have to come in. There's a car off in front of them. That's Vanozzi. Then he's back out there. And Handgraf surely is going to dive into the pits, and he will do. Antti Terho now has been given a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, Terho getting a drive-through penalty from, I suppose, what was an accumulation of incidents then, an accumulation of offenses. Meanwhile, Neshu coming into the pit lane. You can see him there driving slowly indeed. You could see how he was losing the grip already. Sotirov just able to fly by, and it's Miroslav Sotirov for the moment, and it is during the pit stop cycle, but he is in the overall lead for now. So yes, we do indeed have a Pro-Am leading the overall. The lap times, by the way, for Sotirov, for example, it's now down to a 1:26, granted on cold tires, but even the fastest guys are only in 24s. They are down from 1:17s in dry conditions. So we are now very firmly in the crossover, as you see a wonderful 2-foot save in the background. Ooh, I think that was Sven Weber.
It was Fukua who just come out the pit.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a big save that has found itself through. Cook and Neshev and Torchio then together. Handgraf is out of the pits and away, and so they'll be behind drivers like Pezzi, who will still have one pit stop to go here in this race. So it's going to be a little bit out of range, so to speak, for the moment. Vavroski will also have one more stop to try and navigate in this one as he leads GT3 Pro, but Miroslav Sotirov right now is the one who you would be looking at to build the margin. There is Neshev, who is second right now in the GT3 Pro-Ams on the back of Cook and Tokyo and Handgraf, who have all come into the pits. This now is the scary moment. Platt is out there trying to give himself some run, and this is what you held out on the wet tyres for, as now in comes Sotorov from the race lead.
Yeah, Sotilov getting into the pit lane. Wonder where he will come out in relation to Jan Neshu. Let's remember, cold tires early on as well. So even if he has like a 1 or a 2 second lead, it might not be safe compared to Jan Neshu. We can see the two here. Sotilov on the small picture, Neshu on the big picture, just coming on towards the last corner. A fast right-hander, and then you accelerate down into the main straight. Sotilov, meanwhile, done with the pit, but I think he's gonna fan well back of Neshu here, who is just coming out of the pit lane. No, it's gonna be very tight, actually.
Neshev's going to be behind Sotorov, so that is a jump for Miroslav Sotorov, who we saw has now got his place back.
Yeah, but cold tires.
Run wide, and this is going to be perfect on cold tires for Neshev. He's going to have to go all the way down the hill, wait and say, what are you doing? How are you so slow, buddy? As he now looks to try and drive up the hill. Look how tough it is in the rain. It's going to be awful as you try and fight against the tide, so to speak, as rain will fall down the hill. He lifts off and says, look, Johan, you're quicker than me, just go. Car spun in front of them. That is Mika Herkstra, and a caution comes out.
Whoa, what a time. I think they were waiting for the pit stops to cycle through to try and not give anyone an advantage. I'm looking, however, at the current standings, and I do believe it has still affected some drivers. I know Davide Pezia, I believe, did wait just a little bit. So did Trevor Bobrovsky on that pit stop. So they're gonna pit under caution 10, losing track position, but not time. And now this is very treacherous indeed, and these are very treacherous times here on the track. Caution thrown out, and we're gonna see what triggered it on our replay here. It's Casper the Court.
Oh, Casper. Oh, and it's going to catch Landgraf in it, whose suspension breaks on contact, and the Firefly racing car is mired into the barriers on the right-hand side. No wonder the safety car has come out, and so we'll get the field that will cycle back into its position. So Davide Pezzi, as far as I can tell, is the only car that needs to come in and pit and make one more stop in the race out of those at the front. So this is Mika Herkstra's spin, so he just tries to tiptoe through. Car just lets go, and he just has to wait for everyone. He's very quick, actually, to get back up to speed again just before the caution flag flew.
Yeah, just losing the back end, and it's such a sinking feeling when that happens. Thankfully, in a position where he wasn't gonna go straight into the wall, but instead he's able to get it spun around. But still, it's a sinking feeling when you lose the back end and you realize, okay, there's actually nothing I can do here in this car that can save it. You can maybe try and tap the traction control off very quickly, but even then it's probably too late, because once you realize you're spinning, once you see you're spinning, it's already really too late to try and do anything about that. But, well, we mentioned about a certain surname like in these conditions.
We did. Category 2 rain at the moment, Category 3 rain on the horizon. And the worst thing you can have in a position where you've got to try and keep everything in a window is a safety car. For the reason being, that track is not going to see that water disperse at nearly the rate it will do otherwise. And so this couldn't be any more worse timed, because the tyres, they are going to go ice cold.
They are, and they're not heating up as is in these conditions, and now they are getting very cold. The good thing is that compared to the sprint race, they have not really gone through a heat cycle yet, because they didn't really have time to properly warm up after the second round of pit stops. So they are more or less your standard cold tires, which is not to say it's easy, but it means they don't have that wear, that reduced tread, that when combined with the tire being cold and having reduced tread is making it even more difficult. Still, it's gonna be a very hairy restart for those guys. And also the mental effect of essentially the pack bunching up. It's a whole new race. All the gaps have come down. I think especially for the guys who maybe made the wrong call early on with the wrong tire choice or making a mistake early on, this is a new opportunity. It's gonna mean that they can now try and zone in, try and get themselves into the zone and charge and maybe be a bit more aggressive when you know as a racing driver that other drivers are gonna lift off, that they're gonna be careful of the conditions. That's the time when you put the accelerator right into the bottom position and say, look, let's get it on. Let's get it going.
Davide Pezzi does have a spotter with him today. It is Fabio Ciambella who is going to be spotting out there overall. We'll get an extension of the safety car. The only other driver with a spotter is Ivan Loskotov. He has Stefan Likes, who is helping him out then over the course of racing day. But Pezzi here, I'm not sure if I heard this properly, but I think he might still even be out there on a dry tyre, which means he absolutely needs to come in now and get a wet on.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And otherwise, if he's going to remain on those dry tires, well, I think the thing is here, he's going to want to leave it as late as possible. Perhaps to try and get a little bit shorter of a pit stop, try and get some less fuel in, or spending less time to putting fuel in, or maybe trying to see where the track will develop and potentially having a conversation there. But yeah, he does need to pit because these are no longer dry tire conditions. These are no longer the kind of conditions where you can survive on a dry tire, or even if you can somehow keep it on track, it's not going to be very fast.
Look how dark it was there going through 10A and 10B, and effectively he stays out. So I wonder whether there is a graphical issue out there and he's actually gone onto a wet tyre there for us and is just still running out there and just still needs to make that second stop. He elects not to miss it out there for the moment, so he'll be okay. This is where I want to kind of talk a little bit further down the pack. Drivers who maybe haven't had the day they've wanted to and are now trying to recover through. In 21st position overall. Oh, it's a big checker. Oh, it's a huge checker. Bang! Into the wall there on the right-hand side is Antti Terho, who got ran over, and that was a catch-up then as they all slowed up. And really nowhere for, I believe it was Marcel Nürnberg, the Swiss Am, to go as he runs over Antti under safety car conditions. And so that will certainly hurt. I was absolutely going to start talking about, as Antti is now out of the race, I was going to talk about Oye Hugo then, who is in 21st position. Championship leader coming into this one, had the drive-through penalty to go and serve in this after picking up 20 seconds of incident points in the opening races. Another little check-up here as they climb the hill. They've got to be very alert to that. But in terms of what you're looking at, he's now got a free kick to try and drive through the field. Let's take another look at that checkup then and see exactly where it has gone wrong under these yellow conditions. So Terho slows up. So look, they check. Nürnberg has to pick a lane, and he decides that the back of Antti Terho is the way to pick that lane, and there is not much you can do from that point onwards. Casper de Court, I believe, then still out, but we did see one car down in the pits. That was Dan van Zutphen then making a stop in these yellow conditions and getting him back. But Aussie, Antti Terho out, being run over under safety car conditions.
Yeah, that's a heartbreak for Antti Terho. His race was already a little bit adventurous. But he was one of the guys I was looking forward to, not only because he's my ex-teammate, he's a fellow Finn, but also just because in these conditions, his car control, his experience was potentially playing dividends. He was one of the more entertaining drivers out there today, but sadly getting run over. There we go.
Safety car dives in, and we'll be back underway with Davide Pezzi in control. Handgraf in second. Torquio is third. It's then Kuk, Neshev, Sotorov, von der Wright and Zwaggy, your top 8, as they will now get a huge amount of spray in towards turn number 1 and just trying to find the clearance. Oh no! Around, it's Miroslav Sotorov in front of everyone. He's unsighted. Bang! Beber's into the side of him.
Thankfully, only Beber. And that's unfortunate for Beber, but that had a potential for an absolute disaster. You spin right in front of the pack in turn number 1. Everyone doing a great job of just being careful for that exact occurrence. And for once, sim racers actually take caution of the yellow flag and take note of the yellow flag. We are on board with Daniel Dorscheid, who is now promoted 10 up into second place in that Pro-Am category, just behind Trevor Wawrowski, who is also one driver to watch out for. Trevor now up to top 10 in the overall.
Yeah, that's huge for Trevor, who's making his way up. Ivan Loskatov is the biggest loser. The GT3 Am was leading the category, had to take avoiding action, is now last in the GT3 Am category as Wawrowski now takes the run here towards turn number 9, 10A and 10B. Currently where they are at the moment. Wawrowski in 8th, now cresting down the hill and looking around and seeing where you're going to cover the move. Door was half ajar and couldn't quite find the way to go and make that pass work out. And that was very lucky for Dylan Platt that he wasn't turned around in a scenario that we see. And already it is a couple of cars clear. And the way that Davide Petzi's driving at the moment, I am convinced that's a wet tyre, not a dry.
Yeah, absolutely. So previous information may be maybe false 10, but that happens sometimes. Camden Craft, meanwhile, you can see him here then just trying to hold on to that car in these conditions. It's so difficult. Tires are slower getting up to the heat. This driver is still struggling. Normally you think at this point, okay, I can attack turn 1 somewhat, I can start to attack the SS somewhat. No, you still have to take it easy, you still have to take it careful. And as we talked earlier on about this rubbered line, this racing line that's been rubbered in, well, in those corners, during those SS in, and especially in turn 2 and turn 5, you don't really have an alternative line, so you just have to stay on the racing line. And you can see the wet racing experience that some of these guys have by just taking the alternative line, staying off that rubbered line in the braking zones, enabling them to make those overtakes happen, where some guys still sticking on to the standard rubbered surface and are just not finding the grip that they require.
Alessandro Vanozzi now side by side with Miroslav Sotorov on the run to 10A, 10B. His teammate there of Vanozzi, Marcelo Caserta, watches on as they all tentatively hit the brakes and try and find the line that's going to work for them. Wiggle from Sotorov through the middle of the corner, and that's going to put a little bit of concern. They can't drive the power off the exit. They're now trying to search for a line that is going to work for them, and they're side by side everywhere right now because Teichmann's going to see Danny Dorscheid sliding across turn 1 and it's going to get by. You've also got Wawrowski trying to deal with Kevin Maillard. The AM leader is fighting Wawrowski for places.
Yeah, it is. He is again getting very, very comfortable in these conditions. Is Kevin Maillard and Marcelo Caserta. Meanwhile, you see him there, but here's Maillard, and Maillard is up to 10th place in overall standings. What a performance from Kevin, the Impact Sim Sports Ignite driver. Very, very, very well done. So far, so good, but he still has to survive for nearly 15 more minutes, nearly quarter of an hour, which is gonna feel like such a long time for these guys. You can see the puddle starting to form on the track already as well, which just goes to indicate you that it is getting wetter and wetter by the second. The rain is getting harder, the grip is constantly changing, and you just have to adapt on the fly. But how easy it is to adapt when you have a bunch of cars all around you, you're 2 wide or 3 wide, you got no gap in front of you, you got no space behind you, and you just have to do your best. And this is such a testament to the quality of these drivers that they're able to pull off fighting like this even in these conditions.
57 degrees Fahrenheit track down. Oh, around goes Oye Hugo. And it's again another horrible moment for the Andorran, who just cannot catch a break today. He overcooks it into the corner, he slips around and spins around, and that is going to be dramatic to say the least. Marcel Nürnberg will now get a drive-through penalty for his incident level after what's happened with Antti Terho, and I want to go to the front as, Sotorov's off the road, and that's going to drop him down a couple places they go through. It's Petsy from Handgraaf and Tokyo in third, but Kurt Cook's now given the place to Ryan van der Rijp, who is the fastest car on track, and he's got 13 minutes to get by 3 cars to win this race, and that would be huge for overall on the championship.
Absolutely, absolutely it would be, Jake. And you also, one thing I want to mention to the laundry list of things that increase the difficulty in this race, the lack of visibility. You just don't quite see where the car in front of you is going, whether they will block the corner or not, whether you can send it down the inside or not. And for Van der Rijp, that's something that he has to watch out for here, because he wants to make those overtakes. He has the pace, but does he have the space, and will he have the opportunities that will come up? You can see there how far to the outside. Torchio goes too far to the outside.
Yeah. You're on a tightrope there trying to find the grip, but understeer is still your worst enemy here, and Alessandro Torchio can only give it up. The 0-7 sees the Mercedes of Ryan van der Rijp moving through and up into third position. Just Handgraaf, who has been by far and away the best driver all day, and Davide Pezzi are the two that need to be chased up at this moment. Ozzy, the chase is on right now. It's only Stein Handgraaf and Davide Pezzi left to get here as we watch Norswaggy.
Yep, you got 1.8 seconds to Stein. You got 2.4 seconds to Davide Pezzi and the race lead and the potential race win. Meanwhile, Norswaggy, who was almost counted out, is back in 6th place. But here you see the situation as it unfolds live. Free Cuckoo is losing ground to Van der Rijp. Almost everybody losing ground to Van der Rijp at the moment. Dylan Platt, his performance has not plateaued at all. He is in 7th place and trying to still make positions behind Swaggy ahead of Wawrowski. This is a high-level pack that has formed here just outside of your top 5, and I'm still looking at Wawrowski, who is trying his best to find some grip and make it happen here, alternating his racing lines, just finding different spaces, but not quite on the pace that he was in Daytona. Meanwhile, you see a spinner and the big impact there. Marvin Bear involved in that one. Just spinning around and don't come book the racing line.
Yeah, no grip, and you just have to grit and bear it at a position like this. Marvin is going to have to limp his way now over to the side of the road. We're beyond 15 minutes left in the race, so there'll be no safety car to come out then from that, as he will now desperately try and bring the car to pit. Swaggy then 7th overall in class as it stands, is now going to climb up the hill through turn 5, and he's going to go way over the curb. I never want to be on that curb in these wet conditions here, as Dylan Platt holds his ground. Wawrowski, remember, he is in this championship fight. A lot of drivers not here to score those points today, so he must get up to those positions, especially with Van der Rijp, the biggest challenger, who is up there in the field, currently in 3rd position, and Stein Handgraaf, who will be, after today's performance, pulling himself into a title fight.
He is, and he is not someone you want to forget. Just half a second off the lead. Van der Rijp, 1 second off Handgraaf. Meanwhile, here comes Wawrowski to the outside, onto the normal racing line, under braking. Let's see how that affects him. He's in the rubbered line and he's gonna run wide. Yeah, that just goes to show you there's absolutely no grip whatsoever. Just skiing, skating, sledding right off that line, and he's lucky to hold on to that position, even though he will have a slowdown penalty, I'm sure, of that one. But Platt can breathe a little bit easier for now, so can Swaggy.
Well, Platt's on the attack here, trying to get by Johan Neshev for position, and Neshev is in a little bit of a scary position. For Notzi now has a drive-through penalty that he is serving at the moment, and Neshev can't get off the noisy pedal. He's only got 2 seconds to Michael Teichmann, who's 5 cars back in the train.
Yeah, so Neshev is, well, on one hand, you're not really fighting these guys for anything because you are in different class than them. On the other, you don't want to let the train past you. You want to keep those cars between yourself and Michael Teichmann, who is second in class. Between yourself and Sven Beber, who is third in class, who is actually right behind Teichmann. You can see Sven Beber there with those pink wheels on his McLaren, just trying to hold on and trying to, sorry, Lamborghini, not McLaren, of course. Still mid-engine car and still some bright wheels. We love those. Just trying to get that position, second place away from Michael Teichmann. Will he do it now into the chicane?
I'd worry about Sven Beber and how quick he's been. Remember, he climbed up the order once and he's so much better on the brakes as he gets by Michael Teichmann, who represents Mexico, and he finds himself then down a place. Beber will see the eyes in front on the cars he's got to chase on down. NJB Performance still have something late. Down to 8 minutes. Watch out for Van der Rijp. He's all over the back of Steinhandgraf. For position here and towards turn 3. Can't get the lane to get it done, and being narrow on that inside is going to cost about 5 car lengths.
Yeah, so he lost 0.7 of a second, 5 car lengths just by being stuck on the wrong line here. But Van der Rijp in 2 laps has made up that gap. He is absolutely on a mission here. He's absolutely flying around this Road Atlanta circuit in these difficult conditions. Just so much better at finding the traction here, to not go for the obvious pun, and once again catching up to Handgraft, catching up to Petsy despite losing ground earlier. And Free Cuckoo is also someone who is now starting to improve after struggling a bit earlier, is sort of half able to hold on to Van der Rijp's pace.
Well, Kevin Maillard has come in for a stop late and had to on fuel count, so Luke Sloats now leads the AM category as they go. Platt looking to apply pressure to Neshev, who covers off the move very comfortably as Zwagi, as Vavrovsky are there and are joining the group here and need to find these places late. They're down to 6 minutes to go. They're roughly doing 1.5 minute laps. So we're going to be at 5 laps to go in this race because we've got 6.5 minutes left. So 5 more laps to try and bring yourself around. And currently your top 4 split by 2 seconds at the front. Vavrovsky, long way around. It will have to be here to go and get by Nur Zwagi. And he's going to get the line at turn 3. Can he hold around the outside here? Oh, they tiptoe their way through. Still they scrap down towards the S's. Car goes around in front of them. They're going to have to take avoiding action. That's Marcel Nürnberg there, the lap traffic that they just avoid. And critically, Platt is through on Neshev and Zwagi loses out.
Yeah, and Vavrovsky is now catching to the back of Neshev as well, trying to get that overall position, trying to gain these places.
And the lead, because Steinhandgraf has suddenly found second wind here against Davide Pezzi. Oh, contact! Trevor's going to go around and he's going to spin. Gets off onto the outside of the circuit then, and that's going to be a lot of wheel spin to get back. Teichmann back with Beber fighting and go to the lead, because here comes Steinhandgraf. Ice Storm velocity in an absolute deluge, trying to find the raceman and fighting out. He's overshot it, and he's going to go straight across the gravel. He'll have to serve a slowdown penalty. Davide Pezzi's going to get the lead back.
Davide Pezzi then going back round the outside. Handgraaf just absolutely sledding into that chicane. Not the first driver to do it. Sven Beber does the same as well. On the top of your screen, just going through that run of shame, through the gravel, through the grass. And here comes Ryan van der Rijp in third place for now, but for how long? No, you're not going to send it into turn 2. Okay, he's going to send it there.
No, he's going to back out. He's got no choice because that is so confident.
Yeah.
Steinhandgraf there through turn 2. This is turning into an epic finish here in the rain at Road Atlanta. They are dancing on the absolute limit, finding anything that they can out there at the moment to hold. This is fantastic stuff between the field. Maillard has gone around for a spin, but Pezzi here, I think he's happy that he can see what's in front of him. Behind him right now, they are queuing up.
They are, and now the crucial thing is finding that grip on the exit, trying to fight against the traction control. You can see a replay on top of your screen. Michel Vilazzi, what happened to him in turn one? Oh, just a tiny bit of contact between him and Sven Weber, and that's gonna send Vilazzi around for a spin, and that's gonna be a difficult car to dig out of there from that gravel trap. It's like me playing golf, all up in that bunker.
Yeah, always stuck, and it takes a little while to go and get out, but 1, 2, 3, 4, because you got Freek Koek there, who can be the very good deputy with Van der Rijp, just struggling to find anyone. Oh, pitting! Petsy's in, but the pit lane is closed, the window's closed, so he's going to come in and serve his second stop of the race on a closed pit lane, and he'll be penalised to kingdom come.
Oh, that's a surprise, and that is certainly something we did not see coming. Leaving it too late then for Davide Petsy, and that means suddenly the protagonists have changed. Now Steen Handgraaf has taken the main role, has taken the lead of this race, but he is not in an easy place. He's not in an enviable position. I was gonna say, like, usually you wanna be leading this race, especially in rain, because you have the clear visibility, because you can decide your lines. But when you got Ryan van der Rijp behind you, when you got his teammate Freek Koek behind you, he's gonna have a hard time holding on to that place for 2.5 minutes.
This is going to be the longest 2.5 minutes of his sim racing career. He has got two very talented Manatee Racing drivers behind in Ryan van der Rijp and in Freek Koek. They've got a massive gap to the group behind. They don't have to worry about anyone catching them, because Dylan Platt's the one who is going to try and do his best to try and chase this down. Koek will now have to try and realise that Ryan has got to find this move to get the 1-2. Dan van Zutphen will go to the Pro-Am here, because that's going to be a battle for position, heading down 10A towards 10B. Dan up into that top 10, but he is side by side with Vavrovsky behind, and there also with him as he goes, Camden Kraft, who started dead last in this race. Dan is better on the brakes. Koek now will watch and see that Ryan is the best out of 10B, over to turn 1. Stijn Handgraaf now on the inside, just trying to open up his steering. It's close, but they will call it. Final lap of this race. I don't think it will be, or will it be, out there as they go, because I don't think it's going to be the last lap here.
Yeah, and Ryan van der Rijp then is someone who is very good under braking. I was just saying that he loses it, but somehow holds on to it. That was a massive wiggle. He just put that back end out like he was in a nightclub, but then able to hold on to it. Under braking into turn number 5. A massive, massive save. That was like Pickford the other day. Just absolutely saving his game.
Well, it's a wonderful save. It has to be said. It's no given a 2.5 seconds in favour of Stijn Handgraaf here. They cross the line with 2 minutes to go on the clock, so they will have, I would argue here, an extra 30 seconds when they cross the line. I think it's white flag this time around. We'll take a look. You can see that's the view of what he's got in front. He's got to try and save himself through. Catches a puddle unsighted and then has to just drift around to make sure that he's got that save. Brilliantly quick hand to go and get yourself sorted. Now you start the final lap of this race with half a minute to go. Barney waving as they now get themselves sorted. 0.9 seconds for Stijn Handgraaf. Marvin Bear is the traffic in front, and if he catches it wrong, the teammates of Manatee will be able to close down in. Marvin a lot slower here through turn 3. Look at that gap come down to ½ second. Now you're seeing here that you're going to have to wait all the way down the hill and back up it, and Ryan van der Rijp has got himself a second life here as he looks to climb here up in towards the left of turn 5. Bear sliding, Bear spinning out of the way. Here comes Ryan van der Rijp with a run as he heads to turn 6. Does he choose here or does he choose turn 10? Thought about the inside, not going to get it on Stijn Handgraaf at the moment. This has been brilliant. The recovery needed from Ryan van der Rijp, who jumped the start in the sprint, which has meant he's fought all the way to get back to this point against the driver who in all weather conditions at Road Atlanta has been head and shoulders above everybody else. Ryan is going to need a send from the deluge of the heavens seconds to go and get this place back. But it's Ice Storm Velocity holding at the moment. Now how shaky is your brake pedal into 10A and 10B? It's absolutely on it. Van der Rijp tries late. He's not going to get it. Oh my goodness, Stein. What a way to get it done. The double of the highest caliber in the rain. And Road Atlanta, Stein Handgraff wins.
That take your breath away. Stein Handgraff, just hats off to him. He was able to withstand the pressure against the almighty attack. And here comes Jan Nesju, then taking on the Pro-Am victory after everything that happened here in this race in Road Atlanta, holding on. And Lux Lutz, he too, for Simit Esports Racing, for himself and for the AM crown, takes the checkered flag. Last corner, hitting the grass just a little bit, not too bothered by it. And how about Kevin Maillard having to pit late, but still able to take that second place. For a moment he tasted glory. For a moment he was in for a massive surprise, in for a massive result, a top 10 overall, changing to 17th overall and second in class, but still showing that he, with a better strategy, with some better planning, is potentially able to challenge Luke later on in this season, perhaps next time round at Sebring. And Miroslav Sotirov too. Miroslav Sotirov here, one of those guys who was in for the lead all race long, ending up 7th in class. We see those unfortunate drivers then who didn't have the best of days finishing here still, but Jake, your end results and that race, just a thrilling drive. And I tell you what, these scenes, they must be B-roll because it's no longer sunny, but it's gonna be very nice for the top.
An hour and 6 minutes of pure theatre for Stein Handgraff, who will take points maxima away here in the GT Open. A victory over Ryan van der Rijp by 0.4 of a second. Frank Cook will make sure it's 2 Manatee cars on the podium. Dylan Platt, very well respectable drive in the rain. He gets 4th ahead of Nozwagi 5th in class, and Trevor Pavrovsky 6th in class. Camden Craft and Davide Pezzi will be 7th and 8th, with Alessandro Torchio 9th and Marcello Caserta rounding out your top 10. Michele Velazzi, Ryan Fuqua would be 1 lap down, and your retirees, Oye Hugo, the day to forget for the championship leader, with Antti Terho and Casper de Court, also retirees in GT3 Pro. Over to Ozzy with GT3 Pro-Am.
And it was Jan Nesju, unsurprisingly the winner today, but he had to fight hard for it. And speaking of fighting hard, Sven Weber providing one of the performances of the day, just 2.3 seconds back in second, and Dan van Zutphen then rounding out the podium in GT3 Pro-Am with Michael Teichmann, 4th, and Mika Hoekstra in 5th place. Alessandro Vanozzi 6th, you got Miroslav Sotirov in 7th, those are the guys finishing on lead lap, with Daniel Dorscheid and Roberto Stefano Kovac 1 lap down. 10-year retirees, Marvin Baer, we saw him spinning out of the race in the rain. Nils Baukhage as well as Sven Landgraf and Daniel Macchioni 10 classified as retired in GT3 Pro-Am. Quickly running you through the GT3 Am results as well. Lux Lutz 10, your winner of the day, ahead of Kevin Maillard, providing a brilliant performance, sadly losing out in that late pit stop. Marcel Nürnberg finishing the race 1 lap down, with Ivan Loskutov 3 laps down, Jake.
Wow, what a day of racing we have had here on the Global SimRacing Channel. This has been one where you just sit down and say, oh my, that is going to be as tough of a day can get. But Ozzy, you know, you sit down, you look at what you need to get. This is one of those championship 6 rounds where, format or otherwise, you can't have an off round.
No, you can't. And you don't get off rounds either. You don't get breeders. You don't have it easy. Road Atlanta, very difficult circuit, and they're moving to Sebring next time around. And what if Sebring has these similar weather conditions? That just makes me question my sanity at that point, because we're gonna see some amazing racing there. But these guys proving once again that everything can still change. We got 2 rounds remaining, so who knows what might happen.
Well, we're going to get the chance to chat here with some of our drivers, and what a day for Stein Handgraf on the double here today for Racing Action. Stein, I think that goes down as possibly the best result you could have possibly asked for. It was busy for you in race 1, and in race 2, you had to argue about the conditions and when's the right time to make the move. You controlled the race from the front and ultimately got exactly what you were looking for.
Yeah, man, this race was so tough. Halfway through the race, we were thinking about what kind of fuel load to take with the first pit stop, knowing that we might have to go to the different tire as well after that. So I was busy with that, then trying to maintain the lead, and the guys never really gave me a lot of breathing room. So it was 56 minutes of pure fighting to the finish, So it feels amazing to win this race.
Let's talk that final lap, because you thought you had the clearance behind of a second and a half. Slow teammate of Ryan's up the hill basically brings that gap to nothing. How much are you looking in your mirrors at that point? How much are you looking at, oh, I hope he doesn't have a throw down the inside at me?
Yeah, of course you're looking in your mirror at that moment, but I knew that my drive out of the hairpin going onto the back straight was really good. So I was telling myself, okay, trust your exit out of that corner. I seemed to be driving a little bit more towards the inside compared to other drivers on the exit. Got a good drive, and then I knew I had it. I also knew that he was still trying to put his nose in there in the final corner. But I shut the door and then could drive to the finish line. So that was really tough.
Stein, you come into today on just 20 championship points on GTO overall. While it is brilliant that you're taking a maximum amount of points out of this one today, are you looking around at this and saying, I have got to be absolutely flawless from this point onwards to get up inside, top 5 in the championship's got to be end goal now?
Oh, to be honest, I didn't really have a goal for this championship, because I knew that for work I had to travel a lot, and therefore I would miss a couple of races. So to win today twice, I had never imagined this, especially not considering the first result at Road Atlanta. I thought I was going to be mid-pack, bottom mid-pack, and suddenly I'm here twice on the podium.
Well, it is a stellar day's worth of racing. It's Stein Handgraf who will get the win today here at the double around Road Atlanta. Ossian Puhaka has walked down the virtual paddock. He stood by with your AM winner for both rounds of racing with Johan Neshev.
Yes, Jan, congratulations once again for the Pro-Am victory. That certainly did not come easy today, did it?
Well, first of all, thank you. And yeah, it wasn't easy because I don't have that much experience in the rain, and I was worried about my pace and the pace of the others around me. Also, I was worried about spinning or crashing. And yeah, I got quite lucky that it was dry in the heat. And yeah.
So they were very rainy conditions then, in especially the long race, the Masters race. How about tire choice? You started out with dry tire, just like everybody else, but how difficult was the choice early on, and especially after the first pit stop?
Well, we saw that it was a big rain coming in, so we ordered the wet setup with dry tires, which was the obvious choice. And yeah, we were waiting for the green, the more heavier rain, to box and switch to wets, and I think we did it on the perfect time, or around 1 or 2 laps. And I was short on fuel, but that safety car saved me. And yeah, again, I got quite lucky there.
So you also were running very close to your teammate Miroslav Soterov throughout that race, especially in the middle part. Was there conversation between you two? Did you talk to each other, or was it more like, okay, we are quiet now and we are settling this on track, or was it more tactical?
No, we were talking all the time. We were discussing our options, and you know, if I was lower than him, I would have let him by. But it's a big shame that about the collision in turn 1. It would have been such a great race for the team's championship and for him also, because he didn't have work in the last 2 races. But yeah, I think he has the pace for the next 2 rounds, and we are a great team and we have a big chance for the team's championship.
You absolutely do, and you two are dominating the Pro, and maybe next season we will see you in Pro, because certainly you have the pace for it. Congratulations, Jan Neshu. Commiserations to Miro, but congratulations to you and for the negative delta by simgear.it team as well. And if you have any shout out you would like to send, then feel free to do so.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the great stream and the great commentary. And yeah, I'll hope for some work again in the next 2 rounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And next up in the interview cycle, we have Jake Sperry grabbing the microphone, and he's ready to talk to our AM winner.
Just before I do, I just want to give an update that Ryan van der Hrijp has been given a 10-second time penalty out there in that second race, and that will drop him from 2nd overall to 4th behind Dylan Platt. So that is for moderate contact responsibility, and so Ryan van der Hrijp does not finish 2nd here. He finishes 4th, and that will drop him some points in the overall championship. Luke Sloats, though, here with me now, and Luke, a really strong day's worth of racing for you from what was 2 finishes inside of the top half of this field. You got to be very happy with the day's results for you, but also a day which all of your rivals around you struggled. Kevin Maillard with that late pit stop, your teammate Ivan in race 1 having a disconnect and then having to try and fight back with damage. Honestly, I think you were the only one who kept your head above water.
Yeah, it was really tricky conditions. We honestly didn't have that much practice we both had, but despite that we changed some things on the car to try to keep it as stable and on the track as possible. And overall, I think we did a good job. We scored a lot of points once again, so I'm pretty happy about the result.
You will move into the championship lead with the result here in the AM category. So in terms of now being the yardstick compared to your teammate, the likes of Kevin Maillard, looking at those drivers and saying, look, I am king of the AMs at the moment, does that give you confidence, or do you look at it as it's just another mark and every race is just another race?
I think I don't want to underestimate my rivals at the moment. I know on the upcoming track, Sebring, I know I have some pace. I have no idea if it's enough, but I will see. I know that we will put in some more practice than we did for this race, and I hope that we will get a good result.
And so as you turn your attention to round 5 here in the championship coming up, how critical of a race is Sebring going to be for you? A lot different to Road Atlanta as it continues on this trifecta of American tracks.
If I need to say, I think in 2 ways. Of course, as a championship race to fight for the win and for the championship, and as some practice to learn more about the drivers, how does everyone react in the conditions and how will it go. I think Sebring is a nice track to you can overtake each other. There's enough room, more room I think than on the Road Atlanta today. So I think we will get an exciting race next time we race.
Well, we wish you the best of luck at our next round of the championship, but a great drive today from Luke Sloats with 2 finishes inside of the top 15, and that will be very, very strong to work for. We will bring the curtain down here with racing action for the SimRacing Republic GT Open, but what a prelude it will be to what's coming up next here with us. Our next round of the championship will be March 22nd. It will be the week before the iRacing Sebring 12 hour, and so perfect preparation time for many here in the SimRacing Republic GT Open. You can catch that with us 2:15 UTC, 9:15 Eastern to go and get that sorted. So that's going to be critical in terms of where they stand, as we will decide Sprint and Masters titles coming out of Sebring in just 3 weeks' time. But there is so much great sim racing, including in half an hour. Stay with us on the Global SimRacing Channel, because we will be at the Hockenheim Ring for the Sunday Grand Prix series. I'll be taking an express teleport going over there to go and watch. Skip Barbers will be in play at Navarra on Thursday, so catch that then for the next round, the 11th round of the championship. And then as well, you'll be sitting down seeing the SimRacing Republic Sports Car Championship, which will be going through from Spa, as well as Grand Prix Legends, which will be heading over to Monza on a championship berth there. But the day belongs to those who can hold themselves in variable conditions. It's the toughest that you will ever see sim racing. It's also the toughest you ever see racing out there, from Jake Sperry here, along with Ossian Puhaka, Christian Deploy, and Dougie Beard. You can argue that Luke Sloats has now put himself in a great position in the AM category with the result. Johan Neshev has a hand on the title now in Pro-Am with the result he's put today. But Pro is so wide open. There are no guarantees out there, and it falls to Stein Handgraf to have the races of a lifetime. Back-to-back wins here, and puts himself right back with the cat amongst the pigeons. Keep your eyes out for racing action. We'll see you in Sebring in 3 weeks, but we'll see you in half an hour for racing action with the Lotus 79s.
This is iRacing.